Now available in paperback and Kindle Unlimited. Isis, All That Glitters. The goddess next door takes on a bikini-clad bank robber in this action-packed, all-new Isis series adventure. Get Isis, All That Glitters in paperback and Kindle Unlimited today. I spent my Saturday afternoon watching Ralph Breaks the Internet on Netflix. And after watching Ralph Breaks the Internet, I have to ask the executives at Disney a question. Why was this film made? Because there was absolutely no story to it whatsoever. Now, the three critical questions any screenwriter is told to ask before they even put fingers to the keyboard or for a story are, who is the main character, what do they want, and why should we care? And after watching the first 10 minutes of Ralph Breaks the Internet, this film does not answer any of those questions. It doesn't tell us who the main character is, what they want to do, what obstacles are in their way, and most importantly, why should we care? So, according to the forced and convoluted premise for Ralph Breaks the Internet, the reason we're supposed to believe that Ralph has to want something is because he goes into Princess Vanellope's game and creates a brand new course for her that leads to one of the kids breaking the steering wheel on the Sugar Rush game. And because the steering wheel is supposed to be so expensive, this is supposed to be the reason why Ralph has to go in the internet with Vanellope in order to save her game from being scrapped. Now, this premise, as I see it, it doesn't really show us how the Ralph character is supposed to grow and develop, and it really does not really give the Ralph character much to do when you critically look at the previous film, Wreck-It Ralph, which was supposed to be about Ralph the bad guy, who was supposed to aspire to be this hero, and he wanted to learn how to be a hero. So there was a character transformation arc in that film that allowed us to see the Ralph character grow and develop into someone who could be a hero to Princess Vanellope. So there was something there in the first film. However, the second film's story, it does not really feel like a complete story. It feels like a very rushed story and a very sloppy one that was greenlit probably to be a cash grab in order to capitalize on the popularity of the previous Wreck-It Ralph. Unfortunately, because they rushed out this story, the whole story of Wreck-It Ralph falls completely apart in the first act. Because as your Ralph goes into the internet, this is where the film starts to crumble. Now, the original Wreck-It Ralph was supposed to be a satire on old 1980s and 1990s video games. However, Ralph Breaks the Internet just falls completely apart because once Ralph enters the internet, that's when the story starts to crumble overall. Now, the reason for Ralph going into the internet is to go and to eBay to buy a steering wheel for Princess Vanellope in order to fix her Sugar Rush game. However, there was a major plot issue as related to eBay that showed me that the screenwriters did not do their research on eBay. Now, as someone who has been doing business on eBay for 5 years or more as a seller, I can tell you the whole point where Ralph overbids is one that is flawed as related to the story. And it clearly showed me that the screenwriters were rushing and did not do their research because Ralph bid the steering wheel up to $27,000. And what would have happened in eBay if you had put in a super high bid is, yes, the highest bidder would win, but they would win at the price point where the other person's last bid was. So it would not bid all the way up to that. eBay would bid up to that in increments, and your Ralph would not have to need to get $27,000 in order to get a steering wheel. But as this movie goes on, in spite of this plot hole, we get them going to this family, I believe, and they were going to him in order to get the money. And this is supposed to be a satire on all of those internet spams and those clickbait ads. And this also falls apart as well because most people, when they go on the internet, they really don't pay many of these clickbait ads much attention anymore. And most people click out of them. So they're talking about how your Ralph could have used this to go on the internet in order to make money. And in order to do this, to make the big money, he had to go for the big prize, which was to go into this slaughter race game and steal Griselda's car, I believe. I don't know what her name is because this movie is so forgettable. I forget what her name was. But they go in the movie in the game to steal this bad lady's car. And what happens is they steal the car, but the whole sequence, it just doesn't fit together organically in the movie. So you're making a commentary on the internet, and then you're trying to make this commentary on internet games, but it just does not really flow organically into the satire. So there's a big problem with Ralph Breaks the Internet once they enter the slaughter race game. Yes, the sequence with the slaughter race game is amazing, and it's really one of the most well-done sequences in the movie, but it doesn't really fit organically with the rest of the movie and the premise of trying to fix the Sugar Rush game. It just does not fit organically. It's like it's just there so that Princess Vanellope can have somebody to admire and have a woman to look up to. And that's the real reason why it's there. And then we get this plot point where they talk about how your Ralph can go to this algorithm and then he can go there and get on YouTube, and another commentary where the writers did not do enough research because it seems like they're stuck in 2013 or so as related to YouTube, because anybody today will tell you that YouTube's algorithm really isn't what it used to be. And if you put up certain videos that criticize certain people or certain groups or present differing opinions, your video won't get monetized. So they're talking about how you could use YouTube or the YouTube that they're making in this movie to make money. But clearly the writers did not do their research as related to how you can get a green dollar sign or a gold dollar sign, and they didn't really understand that YouTube changed due to the adpocalypse. So you have a film coming out in 2019 that is talking about a YouTube that was from 2012 or 2013 when there was monetization and where people were making lots of money. So there was a big problem with the Ralph Breaks the Internet as related to the whole premise of the internet, because many of the points they make about the internet, it's clear that the writers really didn't understand the internet, how it has changed and how it has evolved. And that what's really crazy is that Wreck-It Ralph was only maybe about 2 years ago, and these changes to the internet, like with eBay, that was always there. And with the YouTube and the algorithm, that it just happened maybe about 2-3 years ago. So just as this film was being written, there should have been some revisions to this script to make things work, because you could have made things work. Unfortunately, the people at Disney were so in a rush to get a sequel out after seeing the box office for Wreck-It Ralph that they wanted to go out here and make a cash grab, not understanding that their short-term cash grab has done long-term damage to the Wreck-It Ralph franchise. And the things that have done the most damage to the Wreck-It Ralph franchise was the lack of development of the hero. Now, again, in the original Wreck-It Ralph, Ralph wanted to be a hero. He wanted to be a good guy. Unfortunately, in this story, your Ralph in the first 10 minutes of the movie says that he is comfortable. And when I took a critical examination of Ralph's actions throughout the movie, they showed me that your Ralph was a beta male nice guy, and even worse, your Ralph has not evolved and grown as a character. So your Ralph, as the story progresses in the internet, he sends Princess Vanellope to a Disney part of the internet. She runs into the Disney princesses, and the Disney princesses, after she helps them out, then she finds her purpose and wants to be in this slaughter race game. And after your Vanellope decides that she wants to be in the slaughter race game, that's when we see the dark side of nice guys with Ralph, and that's when Ralph regresses back into the villain he originally was. So this nice guy starts showing how not nice he was when Vanellope rejects being his friend, quote unquote, and that's when your Ralph goes into full Elliot Rodger mode, as I saw it, in trying to go out of his way to hurt the people in the slaughterhouse game in a passive-aggressive manner. Passive in that he's going to try to keep his world smooth, and aggressive in that he's trying to destroy this place that took his friend away, Princess Vanellope. So what he wants to do, passive-aggressively, is put the virus in the slaughter race game, and he does this in order to so-called protect Vanellope, because Vanellope is a glitch and he wants to protect her, but aggressively he wants to hurt the people in the slaughter race game, and I found that to be really disturbing as related to his behavior, but it was nothing that I hadn't seen in my research in writing books like Stop Simpin' and The Man Crisis, and clearly your Ralph was a man in crisis, and as the movie progresses, your Vanellope sees how completely manipulative and deceitful your Ralph is, and as this virus progresses, we really don't get a good resolution as related to their relationship, because when I look at his behavior, it's classic nice guy behavior, and it's deeply troubling to watch your Ralph participate in this behavior. After working so hard to be a hero, he regresses into this villain, and this virus he creates, it again feels so convoluted because it's based on his so-called insecurities, and it's these so-called insecurities that lead to him breaking the internet, hence the title of this movie. But that again, it just feels so forced, and it never really comes together organically. Now this film, it comes to a conclusion, but it's not a very satisfying conclusion, because we never get to see the hero really grow as it related to his experiences. It's a really shallow story about nice guys put into this movie, because Ralph's world doesn't really change. It still stays the same. Yes, Vanellope goes to the game, but we never see Ralph really grow, because he sits there and stays comfortable in his smooth world like most nice guys do. And his reason for putting the virus into the game really shows us the evil part of nice guys, because once you disrupt a nice guy's smooth world, he then goes to try to destroy other people's worlds, and it doesn't really give you that real quality that makes you say, this is a hero you want to root for. And this is one of the big problems with this movie. And the other part that I had a real serious issue as related to this movie was due to the relationship between Ralph and Vanellope. Now, when I look at Ralph, who's a grown man, and I look at Vanellope, who's a child, I started to see some very, very disturbing undertones, and those undertones really, they reminded me of a pedophile when I looked at Ralph. Ralph didn't really look like he wanted to have a relationship with a child with Vanellope. It looked like a really, again, the way a pedophile would look at at a small child. And that's what really was disturbing to me in the undertones, because if this is what Vanellope wanted to do in going into the slaughter race game, then you would think Ralph would have supported her. But then again, the whole nice guy thing, it was just really creepy. And I just got those undertones from that in the story. Now, this whole Ralph movie, in addition to the undertones, it really doesn't give us a strong masculine hero or the traits of strong masculinity. And that's another issue I had with Ralph Breaks the Internet, is that the hero is not presented as strong and masculine and confident. And then we have these feminist undertones with the Disney princesses who say that they're tired of big, strong men coming to save them. So I got a real social justice narrative in the undertones of the Disney part. And that whole part, again, was really disturbing. The princesses didn't want to wear their gowns. They didn't want to be feminine. They wanted to put on this loungewear, and then they wanted to talk about how they wanted to save a man. So there was a lot of feminism in this film. And again, they show very little respect for the Ralph character, the only male in the film who's a hero, but he's not really presented as heroic. And then later on, after the virus falls apart and Ralph falls, we get the sequence where Ralph is completely emasculated as a man, where the princesses go to save him because they say they want to go out here and save a guy. And again, this was a middle finger up at most of these beta males out here, because Ralph is a beta male, and they go out of their way to emasculate him. As they're trying to save him, they create a princess gown for him to be saved with, and the gown gets shot up in the air. Ralph winds up wearing the dress, and he winds up completely emasculated in this sequence where the women are supposed to save the man. So they go out of their way in this sequence to throw a middle finger up at men and masculinity in this sequence of Ralph Breaks the Internet. And this fits right in line with the feminist undertones and themes that were in Incredibles 2 that made that film unwatchable for me. And after watching Incredibles 2 and Ralph Breaks the Internet, I clearly see an agenda to really demonize masculinity and demonize male heroes with Disney films. And that whole agenda really is a turnoff, because when I look at Disney's products and their gynocentric agenda with characters like Rey, characters like Captain Marvel, and the Phase 4 where Marvel Studios executive Kevin Feige says the future is female, I clearly see a real negative agenda as related to manhood and masculinity, and I see an agenda designed to demonize manhood and masculinity over at Disney. Because when I look at Ralph Breaks the Internet, this is the film that will make you want to break away from Disney films, because instead of us getting to see strong male masculine heroes and strong female heroes working together, what we get is a far left feminist agenda in between the lines of their films, and that's something that really does not really help young children develop and grow, because these films, like Ralph Breaks the Internet and Incredibles 2, are targeted at young children. And what's really sad about it is, instead of giving us a balanced picture of men and women working together and showing the strengths and weaknesses of both boys and girls in a positive light, we get a slanted take where the women are presented as superior, the men are presented as bumbling, stumbling idiots and inferior, and this does not really do well for the development of young boys. So when I look at Ralph Breaks the Internet, this is a broken film, and it is a film filled with actual toxic masculinity, because the toxic male, Ralph, is a beta male, and he is the type of male who women ridicule, humiliate, and degrade, and we're supposed to think that that's perfectly fine. And I'm sorry, it's not perfectly fine to go out of your way to ridicule, degrade, and attack men, because that really does not help young boys who want to go see these movies because they like the internet, they like video games, and they should have a positive example of masculinity and manhood presented to them in these type of stories. Because if you're going to do a movie about Ralph Breaks the Internet, don't make Ralph the bad guy. Give us an actual bad guy so that Ralph can be the hero he aspired to in the first movie, and then go out of his way to defeat the bad guy and save the day. There was a way to do this film in an organic fashion where we could have seen Ralph growing as a character. Unfortunately, because Disney wants to continue pushing its far-left social justice agenda to people, that's why we got beta male Ralph in this wreck of a film that breaks not only the internet in this film, but breaks the franchise of Wreck-It Ralph and makes it unsalvageable for Disney to milk for more money in future cash grabs. If you'd like to see me make more videos like this, you can donate to my Patreon, my PayPal, or my Cash App by clicking the link in the description box. And if you want to see strong masculine heroes like John Haynes in the John Haynes series, and strong feminine heroines like Isis, Eve Steam, and Matilda Crowley, you can pick up my SJS Direct imprint titles and on Amazon by clicking the links in the description box below. There you will find all my books in paperback and ebook, and you'll get great balanced pictures of men and women in action-packed stories. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and Kindle Unlimited, Esteemed Goddess of. Hell's aspiring angel takes on a demonic dominatrix in this action-packed, all-new Esteemed series adventure. Get Esteemed Goddess of in paperback and Kindle Unlimited today.